Hey everybody out there, today for you guys I want to talk about speed duels and my thoughts and experiences from playing speed duels over the last, I think it's been 8 to 9 months now. Forgive me if that's incorrect, but that's what I believe. And my thoughts on it and the evolution that Konami's done with it and where I think Konami can further take speed duels into the future. Because I think it has a lot of potential and the community seems genuinely interested in it. But I feel like there's some things they should definitely do to help promote it a little bit better going forward into next year if they decide to continue it. And I know there's another Speed Duel set coming out in a couple of weeks. We about a month ago got new structure decks, the Weevil and Rex ones, and it's pretty fun to play actually overall. If you haven't played it, it's actually enjoyable if you can find someone that plays speed duels and play it together. So, in my experience from playing speed duels, I did play Duel Links a little bit before, off and on, when I needed to get that itch of just dueling somebody, playing against somebody in Yu-Gi-Oh! And speed duels, I prefer, playing card games in person rather than through a computer simulator, and I feel it's a more enjoyable experience and you take more away from it knowing how your deck functions and how your deck works and preparing for tournaments. I've talked about that a million times before. I definitely agree if you have no one else to play around with, and you got that itch, definitely online simulators are the way to go, but it doesn't simulate real life dueling. Saying that aside, I definitely feel like speed duels is a niche that we've needed for a long time. We've always wanted in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For a very long time, and people have talked about this for years prior to Speed Duels coming out, an official alternative format for Yu-Gi-Oh! It's been a thing that people have wanted for a long time. Going back to GOAT format, going back to people just like playing older formats, going back to people I knew back when I was in college and everything, we did different types of formats just for fun to play around. And I mean, like, when I was in college, like my freshman and sophomore year, we used to have like 10-person games. And I mean, like 5 people versus 5 people. Or free-for-alls of like maybe 10 people. So it was everyone for themselves. 10 people versus 10 people, and so there was like crazy like alternative formats we used to do back in the day. Believe me, they were oh, you got Necro Valley, kill him, he stops our grave effects. This is years ago. This tells you how dated this was and how old I am. But people have always wanted that in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh. That alternative format, and Speed Duels has been that thing. Yes, it came about because of Duel Links' popularity. I get that. Konami wants to make money aside. I get that. But it is really enjoyable. If you haven't played it, definitely give it a shot. You go online, you can buy the structure decks for what? 2 structure decks, and that's pretty much all you need for $10. Whoop-de-doo. Like, that's not a lot of money at all. $10 just to play, have 2 separate decks for you and your friend to play. Yeah, that's pretty cheap, right? And that's the reason I love Speed Duels. They when they come out with these structure decks, they have a good way of promoting it because they put 2 structure decks in. I mean, they're very Speed Duel decks are usually 20 cards, but they give you different 2 decks to play, so you can give one to your friend and one for you, so you can play cheap, which is really, really nice. And I think that's a great way to promote it. And I think, if you love older format Yu-Gi-Oh! If you love a little bit slower pace, like Speed Duels can get really crazy with some combos. Do not deny that. We've seen how Duel Links evolved, and that, if continued, Speed Duels will probably go that same route eventually. But it's a little bit slower. It's more grindy. It reminds me a lot of early school Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, yes, we had Yada Lock and Chaos Emperor Dragon and all that crazy stuff, but it reminds me of kind of a combination of old school Yu-Gi-Oh! Where it's just beat down and pure aggressiveness, and a little bit strategical to some degree, where it's just not like do this rinse repeat combo over and over again, because in Speed Duels it's a lot more generic cards. Yes, there are archetypes, but it's a lot more generic stuff. and that you could get to play around with a little bit more, which is really fun, and it makes the duels a lot reminiscent to older school Yu-Gi-Oh! Because when I play speed duels, I'm like, okay, what cards I have, this is what I use. And that's how I used to, how I got into the game. So it's really fun in that aspect. If you love old school Yu-Gi-Oh! It's great. But the problem that I find is, and the tournament packs are really good. There are so many people I want to know that want to play speed duels if you had those tournament packs as a store. There's a good majority of people out there I knew that were interested in that. And the thing that I found was that those were very hard to come by with Tournament Pack 1 Speed Duel packs. Now that we have Tournament Pack 2 coming out, hopefully that becomes a little more popular. I find that people really enjoy Speed Duels. Some people just said, I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But try it out. You'll find it's enjoyable. Because in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, things are so fast-paced. They just, and then decks, for the most part, not all decks, are rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat. And what I mean by that is you just do the same 3 or 4 combos in a deck over and over and over and over again. Yes, things may change up depending upon your hand, but you just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And I love decks. And it takes me back to the older days where you sometimes would get cards where you get like a 5-card hand and you're like, okay, this is really different. How do I play out of it? That's one of the reasons why when I play modern Yu-Gi-Oh, when I get hands that I'm not used to, I actually like playing with those hands because I have to use my brain more than just using the neural pathways of just doing the same thing over and over and over again. And Speed Duels has a lot of that. It's a little bit more thinking man's game to some extent. But the problem is, I think people have a bad stigma on it because of Duel Links to some degree for players. I think a lot of players have put that aside, picked it up, and actually enjoyed it a lot. But the problem is, and here's the problem, there's no official tournaments. People have talked about this already, but I'm going to be honest. If Konami made Speed Duels a official tournament, not just a side event at a YCS, but an official maybe couple, you start off at the regional level, have it a couple, maybe, East Coast, 2 on the East Coast, 2 in the Midwest, 2 on the West Coast, something, 2 in the South, like 8 Speed Duel tournaments in the next couple of months. I think it would pick up steam. Or if you did it at a side event, at a major event, I think that you have it as a properly run tournament where you can bring from your outside your Speed Duel decks. Now, I haven't heard, and I haven't been to a YCS since they've really implemented Speed Duels. From what I've been told previously, they would give you, when you entered a Speed Duel tournament, they would give you just the structure deck and you had to play with those. Now, I don't know if they've changed that or not, but I feel like if they were more open to that and have it in connection with major events, I think that would eventually get popularity going with it, because a lot of people I know have come around to the idea of liking Speed Duels from going to major events and actually playing in those side events. So there is a popularity for it. It is growing, but I feel like it's going to take time. It's going to take them to officially make it a tournament sanctions event a little bit more, I think. And I think as the game progresses, because you have to remember, we're only like, 3 sets into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For Speed Duels, and 2 structure decks worth of releases into the game, I think. And that's not a lot. If you think about the first couple of sets of Yu-Gi-Oh! It took Yu-Gi-Oh! When it first came out, it clicked with a lot of people because they were younger, TV, anime, all that stuff back in the day growing up, I remember. But it took a little bit of time for it to gain momentum. At least 5 to 6 sets in before it eventually started to catch wind. I know some people entered early, but I knew there was a lot of people coming in, and I see the same thing happening with the first 3 set releases. People getting a little bit more interested. Cards are starting to go up in value a little bit more, not just because vendors are not holding on to the cards, but people are more interested in them now. People want them now. People are like, oh yeah. Like I know for a fact, when I was working at my local card store, we had the first, Speed Duel boxes. And they kept selling when we put them online for, a good amount of money because people wanted the Karibos out of there to play in speed duels. So it was like people either were getting it just to open packs, or they were looking for Karibos, or just were like, oh yeah. And the nice thing that I will also say that Konami's done with speed duels, and people probably don't even know this unless you've opened a box and are a deck builder at heart. You can take a box 90% of the time to 95% of the time. If I open a speed duel box, all right, a speed duel box, I can build a deck out of that speed duel box for you. A good introductory speed duel box for you. I can build a deck for you. And the rest of the cards you can either decide, oh, I want to build a second deck or something of that nature. You can't do that with modern Yu-Gi-Oh! If you opened a box of modern Yu-Gi-Oh!, right? Could you build a deck out of it? A competitively viable deck? No. Speed duel decks, you can do that. Boxes. You can buy a speed duel box, and 95% of the time to 90% of the time, you can build a competitive deck out of it, or a deck of some sort that's actually viable and functions properly out of it. And then you can add to it. And I've done that for so many players out there that were interested in speed duels. And then because we sold out of the structure decks, and I would be like, okay, buy a box, and here's your deck. And I would put it together for them, and it would work perfectly. It would work great. And then they would add to it, and it would work even better. So they've done things correctly to introduce it to the game, players of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think it's just going to take time, more tournaments, and I think it's going to catch on more. I think it's low-key is something that we've wanted in the community for a long time, and it will succeed. I see it. But it's going to take more promotion and getting it out there at major events and eventually having its own thing. I really believe, Konami's pushing it. It's probably going to succeed. It's done it before. This is not going to be Dice Monsters 2.0, I think. I see more interest in this than I do other things. And a lot of more casual Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, people getting back in the game, who don't want to jump into this, crazy, links and everything, they feel like they're more open to speed duels. So those are my thoughts on the evolution of speed duels and why I have actually enjoyed it and think it's pretty cool. I just play with a couple of decks I have, and I share them with different people to get them interested in the game if they're interested in it, or just play it. And people seem to be really liking it. They're like, wow, this is pretty cool. I'm like, how much is this deck? And I'm like, you got 20 bucks? You got the deck. They're like, what? Because in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It takes what? Like at least $50 to $80 to build a deck. 20 bucks. That's cheap. maybe not for all of you guys, but like 20 bucks for a deck, and sometimes even $10 for a deck. That's decent. That's pretty good. The skill cards are usually the most expensive thing, and after that it's pretty simple. Like, oh, I want to add these sphere Karibos or something else. Okay, that costs a little bit more money. That's but do you absolutely need it to play against your buddies and friends? No, you can just add to it as you go along, and that's what I love about speed duels. Takes me back to good times. Fun, slow format for if you're sick and tired of the meta. I have a feeling, and this is just not a feeling necessarily, but just something I wonder if it's going to happen in the future, where maybe in the future we get into a format again where it's very degenerate in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? Like, it's super degenerate. And it's not like Dragon. It may be like Dragon Ruler type format. It may be like what we had last year, where it's multiple, FTK format after FTK format, or a bad FTK format. And we see that happen, right? And Speed Duels is there, and people don't want to quit Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? They don't want to stop playing, so they jump to Speed Duels to play until the format gets better, and Speed Duels gains a better reputation and continues to grow through that because of that reason. People don't want to quit, but they don't want to play the current modern format. I see if that happens next year sometime, it looks like. If that happens, I think Speed Duels may gain a little bit of popularity. I'm curious to see if that actually does come true. Because I've seen that happen time and time again, where people play modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The format's not cool, and they jump to older formats. Maybe they'll jump to Speed Duels. Just a thought. But till next time, take care. Have fun dueling. Good luck dueling to all of you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Tell me your thoughts down below.